All right. We are live right now. Hello, everyone. We'll give a couple minutes to wait for people to show up here. I mean, we'll see if people show up at this time. It's 3 o'clock over here in San Diego. All right, but anyhow, so you saw the title already. It's a CD haul, but live. So yeah, of course, you also read the title is that it's an early birthday stream because it's not my birthday yet, but tomorrow is when my actual birthday will be. And the reason why I'm doing it today on the 30th is because I'm going to be busy tomorrow. School, that's the number one thing. So I'm going to be gone all day tomorrow. So won't have time to do it then. So might as well do it now since I have the time here. Let's see. We'll see. Hopefully I don't have to work today. I'm pretty sure I don't. We'll see what happens. Maybe my boss might call me, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, let's see. Where was I? Where was I going with this? But yeah, back to the CD haul here. So, for those who've seen all my CD hauls, you know how I go. I'm gonna go through all the CDs I purchased or acquired throughout the month, and we got quite a lot here. We have over close to 58 pretty much of CDs here, so it's a lot. We're gonna see if we can try to get through this as quick as we can. And as usual, I usually give my first impressions on a lot of these. I will say I have surprisingly was able to listen to all of them beforehand, so I'm pretty proud of myself there. But all right, so we have already have a couple people in the chat here. We have, of course, my good man Nick. All right, hey Briar, happy day before your birthday. Thank you very much. Glad you can be here for a bit. And of course, there's Mickey. Thank you very much. All right, then won't be on for long. I'm watching the second Mets versus Braves doubleheader. Have a good one. All right. Well, we'll see. Good. Wish them luck. Of course, granted, I'm not a sports guy, but yay, sports. All right. Anyway, so I'm not going to waste too much time here. Of course, for those who are coming in or who are still here, of course, you can let me know your thoughts on any of these albums I'm going to show. And give your thoughts, and if any questions on anything, feel free. But yeah, I'm a pretty open book, by the way, so there's that. As long as it's appropriate. But we'll see what happens there. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead. We're gonna start with these. Of course, we're gonna start with the ones that were given to me. Of course, Mickey is in the chat here, so we're going to start with the ones that he sent me already. Of course, I did the whole viewer mail video on already. All right, so sent me quite a bit here. Pretty eclectic sort of group that we got here. So to get started, starting up with the live album, we have Procol Harum with their live album or in concert with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra. Okay, and it comes in this nice little, a little LP replica, I guess. Looks like one. Kind of fits that sort of theme. There's not much else to say about it. It is a live album of Procol Harum, came out in 1972. And, I gave it a listen, and it's pretty solid. I quite liked it. I've listened to a little bit of Procol Harum. I have a couple of their albums. I have their debut. I have Salty Dog. Do I have another one? I think I have another one. Oh man, what was the other one I got? Oh man, that's gonna annoy me now. Let me see. I'm trying to look. Over to the side there. Yep, not coming to me. I'm sure it'll come later, but I know I have maybe 3, at most 3. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, pretty much has what they were playing at the time. Horse Has Conquistador, Salty Dog, and some other tracks here. Played very well. We have the orchestra. Sounds pretty cool. Yeah, so it's pretty solid. Quite liked it quite a bit. But again, I said this many times, I'm not the hugest into live albums, but I'm open to them. I'm definitely curious on how they sound live, especially with an orchestra. So that's pretty nice. So that's a pretty nice one. Next up, And I know Nick's loathing this next one. But of course, we have Grateful Dead, Anthem of the Sun, came out in 1968. So this is now my fourth Grateful Dead album I have in my collection now. I know I have American Beauty, In the Dark, and Workman's Dead. That's what it's called. Let me just verify that real quick. Yeah, Workman's Dead. All right, I got it. All right, so my thoughts on this one, if we were to compare the Grateful Dead albums I've heard so far, yeah, this is so far my least favorite. you know, it has this type of music has its fans, and that's an understatement actually, because Grateful Dead has a huge fan base. But this one just didn't do much for me. It's very kind of extremely psychedelic, kind of avant-garde at times. And the big issue I have with this album is that a lot of this stuff kind of meanders a bit too much. I mean, there are moments where I can get it gets into a groove, which I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. But then it quickly ends. And so now it just kind of goes back to just kind of moseying along. And a lot of these songs are pretty long too. 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 11 minutes, even 9 minutes, close to 10 minutes actually. Yeah, I know this album has a lot of fans. And I wouldn't say I'm one of them, unfortunately. But the album cover's cool. I do like the design of it. That's kind of the best thing about this. But overall, not for me. Okay, moving on. Okay, next up we have Love Is from Eric Burdon and the Animals. All right, came out in 1968, same year as Grateful Dead, surprisingly. All right, so of course Eric Burdon and the Animals, of course, or just the Animals, but by this point Eric Burdon was basically the head honcho, shall we say, and basically had control. But yeah, this is very interesting. I know I have the Animals' debut, and I enjoyed that, but here we have a much later album. And I dug it. I kind of dug it. It's pretty, again, solid. Nothing amazing, but Eric Burdon has a good voice. I'd say that's a plus there. There's a lot of covers on here. I mean, you have River Deep, Mountain High, which nothing really can compare to the Ike and Tina Turner version. Just kind of pales in comparison compared to that version. But it was so not the greatest opening song. I'm an Animal is okay. I'm Dying, or Am I? It's actually was pretty solid. I like that one. Colored Rain was pretty good. Gemini was a pretty solid closing track. Again, kind of on the long side, but still decent. And I think the most fascinating part about this album is that you have Andy Summers. Andy Summers, of course, who would later help form the Police later on. So that's kind of cool. We have like an early Andy Summers here. So that's kind of cool. And if I'm gonna say, I say that's him on the far right there. Of course, yeah, on the far right. That's kind of cool. So yeah, solid album, decent. All right, so now we have Robert Plant with Manic Nirvana. Now, of course, Mickey has said this is his favorite Robert Plant's solo album, and so far I've heard two. This is like my second Robert Plant solo album I've heard so far. Let's see. Did not know Andy Summers wasn't on the album. Yeah, I didn't know either until I looked it up. So that's kind of a nice trivia fact. But anyway, back to Robert Plant. So out of the two Robert Plant solo albums I've heard so far, this is by far the best one. I think this is kind of a lot better than Now and Then, honestly. Some good rock songs here. Robert sounds pretty good here. So songs that stuck out were Hurting Kind, parentheses, I've Got My Eyes on You. Big Love, I quite enjoyed. SSS and Q was another standout. She Said, and then Anniversary was another kind of good standout. So yeah, pretty good. Yeah, definitely we'll check out more Rubber Plants sometime down the line. Yeah, not much else to say, but a solid, pretty solid, kind of early 90s rock album. This came out in 1990. So yeah, pretty happy with that. All right, next up, we have another live album. We have Alchemy, Dire Straits, of course. Of course, when you go on YouTube, you're gonna see people react to the clips from this performance. Stuff mm, like why am I blanking? Songs of Swing, of course. Um, Telegram. I should just look on here. Telegraph Road is another one you might see. Tunnel of Love, maybe. But this has pretty much all the big songs you want to hear from Dire Straits. Of course, you have Once Upon a Time in the West, Romeo and Juliet, Tunnel of Love. So it's a 2 CD pack on 2 separate jewel cases. So yeah, this is definitely a nice addition. Very cool to have on audio. Of course, watching it on video is my preferred way to look at this, but having the audio version is still kind of neat. So there we go. Okay, and then we have, and of course, this was not, well, technically it was given to me by Mickey, but it was given by someone else. Again, shout out to Cheryl. We have the Beastie Boys anthology, Sounds of Science. All right, so Beastie Boys, I've known about them, but haven't had the drive to listen to their stuff. But we have this anthology, which is a compilation of hits and deep cuts and early tracks of them. So you pretty much get pretty much a good representation of pretty much the whole the whole career up in that point. This came out in 1999, same year I was born. Hey, I should mention I didn't mention this earlier, but now I'm 25. I'm 25 this year and tomorrow. I'm a quarter of a century. That's quite a thought. But back to the Beastie Boys. It's so yeah. I mean, I will say, musically, it's not I would actively seek, but I had fun with this. This was definitely a nice fun kind of exploring this band. Of course, they're known for their more like rap, rock, hip hop sort of sound. But early on, they kind of had a punk sound. Very early on, though. So it's very interesting, very fascinating. Um, Again, this is not like my go-to type of music, but it's still kind of interesting. Um, so yeah, pretty nice. So again, thank you to Cheryl for sending me that. So that's pretty much all the big. I think these are like the big pulls from here. It's worth mentioning that I know Mickey has also sent me a couple other things along with the ones I just showed. So we have this Pink Floyd kind of promotional CD sampler thing. And then we have this kind of deluxe edition of Say You Will by Fleetwood Mac in this red hardcover book style casing. Excuse me. And then we have Allman Brothers Band, the Fillmore concerts. I will say I did not listen to these because I already have these already, so don't really see the need to listen to them. I haven't even heard the bonus CD on this yet, but I'm still planning to keep these. I'll still keep them kind of separate, kind of in a safe place though. And this one, I have no idea if it's worth listening to, honestly. It's probably just gonna be one I'll listen to once, but then probably forget about. But again, I'll probably keep it safe though. So other than that, that's all the CDs that Mickey sent for the month of September, and I know Mickey has more coming in the next couple months, so we'll see what he has this time. Let's see what else. I know Mickey has a couple of comments. I like Tie Dye on the Highway. Yep, that was a solid song. And then there are 3 more Robert Plant CDs coming your way. Shaking, Not Stirred is not one of them. Okay, good to know. All right. Moving on. So now that's all the ones that were given to me. And now we get to all the ones I bought myself with my own money. And most of these were actually bought from a record store. So, and I think only 4 of them, and I already did a video on them, but 4 of them were were from Amazon. So yeah, most of them were from a record store. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Anyway, they're up there, so I gotta go get them. Hopefully I don't drop any. That's one stack. There's a second stack on the way. So we'll just go with this. All right. First up, we have, let me just get everything set up first. Here it is. We have The Babies. I know, not really the best name. But anyway, the album is called Head First. This is kind of nice. I'll just do this for now until it gets too low. But yeah, we have John Waite. Hopefully I said that right. Lead singer. Went on to have a good solo career after he left the band. But this came out in 1978, and this is a pretty good album. I actually really enjoyed this one. I pretty much enjoyed every song, honestly. There's not one song I did not like. It's just your good kind of late 70s kind of commercial rock AOR type of sound, which I love that sound. So it appeals to me quite a lot. Great hooks, great melodies, and I do like the vocals. I think John has good vocals throughout this album. Yeah, I think probably my favorite songs, if I were to choose, would be Love Don't Prove I'm Right, Every Time I Think of You, which was a big hit here. White Lightning, if you're still watching, I believe White Lightning was written by Billy Nichols. That's kind of a neat little fun fact. Let's see. Run to Mexico, I also enjoyed. And then California. That's another song written about California. I think that's also a really good song. I really like the melodies on that one. But yeah, The Babies. I think it's their third album, if I remember correctly. Hopefully I'm right there, but still, very nice find. So yeah, maybe we'll check out more of The Babies at some point. But there we go. We'll put them there. All right, next up, we have Tommy Bolin with Private Eyes. All right, another album I thought was really good. I also enjoyed every song here. So of course, if you don't know Tommy Bolin, he was kind of like this big, like semi-big guitar player in the 70s. Of course, some people might know him because he briefly was the guitar player for Deep Purple when Richie Blackmore left, and he was only on one album, of course, that being Come Taste the Band. But this is a solo album he did. This is his second solo album. He only did two because he died pretty young. But yeah, this was a good one. A lot of variety on this album. Of course, you have your good rockers, but then you have stuff that are more kind of have a more commercial edge, and a couple of songs that kind of almost go into jazz fusion a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit in there. But yeah, it sounds really good, and I think Tommy does most of the vocals here, and pretty solid voice. I think it suits the music fairly well. And yeah, this is another pretty nice discovery here. So yeah, pretty happy to get that in the collection. All right. Next up, I should also mention as we continue, you notice in the title as well, it says rock, pop, and questionable. I did that on purpose because there's going to be some albums in here where you're going to look through this and you're going to be like, why did you buy this? But hey, it's my collection. I do what I want. This one might be in the questionable department. Probably not. I think there are people that do dig some of this guy a little bit. All right, so we have, and I showed this on a video not that long ago. We have Michael Bolton. We have his kind of his, I don't know what you call this, kind of, I don't know, like it's technically his third solo album, but it's his first album with his new name because before he was known as Michael Bolton, but on this album he is Michael Bolton. Yeah, but yeah, this is him in a more kind of like a early 80s kind of AOR hard rock singer. So I gotta say, I think he does it pretty well. And I mentioned this in the video, I was curious. I wanted to check out some of this period of him. And songs like Fool's Game, she did the same thing. Hometown Hero, Can't Hold On, Can't Let Go, Paradise, Carrie, I Almost Believed You. Really great songs. Some really good, kind of memorable, very, very kind of catchy sort of songs. Again, it's nothing like amazing, but if you just want to have a good time, hey, Michael Bolton can pull it off. He can pretty much pull off this type of music here. But of course, to most people, Michael Bolton's is mostly known for being that sort of adult contemporary sort of singer, the stuff that your mom will like. I mean, does my mom like Michael Bolton? Maybe. I have to put a maybe on that. But speaking of Michael Bolton, we have another one. This is more in line of what most people think of Michael Bolton. Of course, this is 1991. So, yep, kind of making that shift over to some more adult contemporary. And I do like that. I do like that too. I don't hate it. I don't hate that at all. Every once in a while, there's a really good song in here, and there's some good songs on this album. This album's called Love, Time, Love, and Tenderness, by the way. And yeah, songs that stood out were Love Is a Wonderful Thing, Forever Isn't Long Enough, which I believe was no, I think the next song I really like. That's the ballad. Now that I found you. Again, sucker for ballads. That's a good one right there. And then you have his cover of When a Man Loves a Woman, which is pretty solid. And then another song that stood out to me was Steel Bars. But those are the songs that stood out. But there are songs that are like, they're like okay, but nothing I would go back to on its own. But there's still some standout songs on this album. So yeah, I do dig some Michael Bolton. All right, moving on. I think here we have the very first album I would put in the questionable category. All right, we have David Bowie with his self-titled debut album from 1967. Okay, so released the same day as Sgt. Pepper. Now, this album kind of has a reputation being it's kind of Bowie at a very kind of in this weird vaudevillian sort of, kind of nursery rhyme sort of era. It's interesting, you know. There were some songs I thought were okay. I didn't mind "Sell Me a Coat." Then another song stood out was "When I Live My Dream," and "Come and Buy Me Toys" was kind of like it's like a I guess that was another one that I thought was okay, but everything else was kind of eh. Yeah, and I mean, I know even David Bowie himself has said that, yeah, he does not even he disowns this album basically, because it really it's kind of a weird way to start a career. And then probably the biggest probably the biggest weird thing about this album is that the closing song with "Please, Mr. Gravedigger." I remember Nick showed me this, and I was just so confused by just this bizarre, kind of morbid sort of short story David's saying. It's very bizarre. So yeah, maybe there are some fans of this album. Maybe people do like the charm of this kind of very British sounding quirky album, but for me, this ain't it, fam. This ain't it. Give me a hunky dory, or give me hunky dory any day. All right. So now we move on. Next one. I wouldn't say this is questionable. So this person was pretty big for a time. She of course she got into big. She got pretty much got into the headlines very quickly because she was on, I believe, Britain's Got Talent, if I remember correctly. I vaguely remember it. I was pretty young at the time, but I know my mom was pretty big when this story was hitting. But we have "I Dreamed a Dream" by Susan Boyle. Actually, I found this at a Salvation Army, by the way. It was only $1 when I bought it. But yeah, Susan Boyle. Of course, like I said, was on Britain's Got Talent. She sung "I Dreamed a Dream." Of course, got big media coverage, and she didn't actually win that, which if I remember correctly, there was some upset about that. But she was still very popular and was able to record an album, some albums. And here we have her first album, came out in 2009. So this album is basically almost entirely composed in covers. I believe there's only one song here that's not a cover, but she didn't write it, of course. Um, of course, I got this, because I think the whole Susan Boyle story is pretty inspiring. Even I watched that video today, and I'm like, oh, I get choked up a bit. I get choked up a little bit, it's a good story. And yeah, I bought this because I thought of it. Um, and there's not much to say really. I mean, it is just covers. You have Wild Horses from the Rolling Stones on here. Of course, you have A Dream to Dream, the song that made her where she is now. You also have Daydream Believer by the Monkees, which is a weird choice, but there's that. And of course, there's like typical stuff. Like, of course, you have Amazing Grace, and then you have Silent Night. So yeah, it's a fine album. Is it something I'm gonna listen to all the time? No, but you know, it's still, I think it's worth checking out a little bit, at least once. I'm not saying you'll be amazed by it, but I don't know. There's that. Okay, moving on. Let's see. I had my haircut like David Bowie on the album cover back in 76. Oh man, I can only imagine. All right. Okay, we have 7 people here right now, by the way. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure don't forget to like the stream, of course, help support the stream. And yeah, we're not even halfway done here. So yeah, and so far I have not heard anything from my boss, so I might not be working today, but still gotta be on standby. Okay, moving on. So here's an interesting one. Here's a solo album from a Prague, a pretty notable member in the Prague vein, shall we say. Let me see. I gotta pull it up, of course, just to make sure. You might kind of vaguely see it here, but it might be hard to see because of the glare. Where is it? I know I got it here. There it is. So let me just say the album name first. So we have Feels Good to Me by Bruford, also known as Bill Bruford. Of course, Bill Bruford, famous drummer who has played with Yes, King Crimson, even Genesis, only live though, but he did tour with Genesis when Phil just became the lead singer. So this is kind of like a solo album. Of course, also a band thing as well. Don't know where you would classify it, but yeah. So this is kind of Bill Bruford. Of course, drums are all over of course, the drums is great. So not much to say there. It's a very kind of jazzy sort of album, kind of jazz fusion, jazz rock. It's pretty good. It's mostly instrumental. I say mostly because there are some tracks with vocals. The vocals, I'm blanking on who sung most of the lyrics, who sung most of the songs here. Interesting voice, kind of different. Probably one that I need to hear a bit more to grow on me. But still, it's fascinating. This is definitely an album I need to give more listens to. I feel like I didn't give this one enough time. But all I know is that musicianship is still very good. Yeah, I feel like I'll like this a lot more. So there we go. So that's Bruford. Okay, now here's a pretty notable album. This is a pretty big album, especially in the 90s. We have Jeff Buckley with Grace. Yeah, so Jeff Buckley gets brought up quite a bit from time to time. Of course, this is his only album he made before he died fairly young. And I bought it because it has sold a lot. And so I just kind of want to see what the hype was about. And do I get the hype? To an extent, yeah. I'd say there were some good songs I enjoyed. Probably the songs I enjoyed the most were Grace, Last Goodbye, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, of course. Of course, that was the big hit on here, was his version of that's the Leonard Cohen song. And then, excuse me, another song I really enjoyed was, excuse me, Lover, You Should Have Come Over. Um, yeah, so those are like the big songs. The rest of it was pretty solid. Some of them kind of leaned on a more alternative rock, but some kind of were more slower. And that's kind of like my only critique, was that there are some songs that were feeling a bit slow. Um, but he does have a great voice. I will admit he does have a good voice. Just that I think musically just didn't grab me all the way through. But who knows? This could be another example of an album I need to give more chances to. But yeah, that's just my thoughts, of course. But yeah, there's Jeff Buckley. I mean, that's one. That's one definitely should have. All right, now here's another one that's going back to the questionable category. Because this is kind of a one-hit wonder band. They're mainly known for the one. They're mainly known for that one kind of song, and even that's kind of stretching it, because I don't even know how many people actually listen to that song on its own. I feel like it's one of those one-hit wonders that's kind of lost the time, honestly. You know, but that's just the thing. But anyway, I'm stalling. Okay, we have the Buoys, and this is a compilation called Timothy. Of course, I think it goes by another name, because this is like a '90s kind of thing that came out. So not sure. Not sure. I know there was some kind of I think there was some controversy surrounding this compilation, because I think I've read that the band themselves don't get anything from here, which is again interesting. Um, let's see. So yeah, I only got it solely because of only for that one song, Timothy. Which, if you didn't know what that song's about, of course, it's about cannibalism. About these guys get locked in a kind of get locked, or they're in a mine. It caves in, and so these three guys are starving. So they decide to kill one of them and eat them. It's a pretty it's a pretty dark thing, but just spoiled it there. But it's written by the same guy who made this song. So yeah, that's the same guy who wrote Timothy. He so before he wrote a song about cannibalism, then he would go on to write about pina coladas and cheating on your lover. Interesting tidbits there. Okay, so novelty things aside, were there other songs I liked? Not really. I mean, they're fine. The rest of the other songs here are fine. But it's kind of nothing really that special, nothing really memorable. It's just kind of, Timothy's the only song I'd say is worth checking out. The rest of the songs here are kind of, whatever, not essential. You can hear every song on here and feel like you can feel nothing really. So there's that. But yeah, again, I just got it solely for the novelty of having Timothy on a CD. But anyhow, let's keep going. I don't have much else to say about that. Anyway, so we have two albums from the same band here, and I'd say in the mainstream, people may not know this band, but if you're in the punk scene, especially in the British punk scene, this band might be pretty well known. We have the Buzzcocks. Buzzcocks, brilliant name. So I have two. This is their debut album. Let me see. In a Different Kitchen, and I believe this is their third album, A Different Kind of Tension. So yeah. So the debut. We'll start with the debut first. Debut came out in 1978, and if you like punk, yeah, this is probably one to check out. Some good songs like Fast Car, No Reply, You Tear Me Up, Love Battery, I Don't Mind, Fiction Romance, some pretty good, yeah, some pretty good, punk. What's there more to say? Punk, it's all about the attitude. And then mix up, we have A Different Kind of Tension, another pretty solid album here. I don't think I liked it as much as the debut, but again, there's some good songs here like Paradise, You Say You Don't Love Me, You Can't Help It, Madman Judy, I don't I I don't know what to do with my life. Then we have Hollow Inside. All right, so yeah, another pretty solid punk album. So yeah, again, I hear the name Buzzcocks from time to time, um, mainly because of Joy. When when you hear when you watch documentaries of Joy Division, usually the Buzzcocks get mentioned because they kind of came around at the same time, um, just about. So kind of eh, hey, might as well check out the Buzzcocks. Let's see what they got. I still prefer Joy Division, but Buzzcocks were pretty good. I had fun. All right, now this next one here. Now this was a great find. I'm pretty happy with how I was able to find this album, and I'm pretty sure this thing's kind of. I'm not sure how rare the CD is, but I'm pretty sure this is obviously an album that there's good majority of people who have no idea who have not heard of this album or band. The band's Cactus, and this is their self-titled debut from 1970. I don't know why. I kind of like the cover. You just have this one cactus behind a red sun. I don't know. I don't know why. Kind of like that. Right, another great album here. Great mixture of kind of bluesy, but very heavy hard rock at the same time. Of course, you have Carmine, a piece on drums, and my God, is the drumming heavy on here. And I think I read, I'm not sure if this is true, but I know John Bonham was influenced by Carmine. And when you hear this album, you can kind of hear it because he has this big, massive drum sound. And the rest of the band is also really great and some solid vocals as well. Just a great hard rock album. Just a great early 70s hard rock, basically. So, yeah, very glad I found this one because, again, not many people know this album, but when people do talk about this, they say good things about this. So yeah, that's a good one right there. That was a good find. All right. Next up. All right. Now we have Mariah Carey. This might be questionable depending on your taste. But I do dig some Mariah Carey. I like some of her stuff. Not everything, but there's some decent stuff. So this is like my third Mariah Carey album now. So this is called Butterfly, by the way. This came out in 1997. And yeah, not bad. Again, not everything is my taste, but there's some songs I did like. The first song, Honey, I liked. Butterfly, The Roof, Breakdown, which featured Bone Thugs and Harmony. That was a solid song. But then, it gets to a point where the album kind of stops. It just becomes this kind of slow, not quite ballads. They're kind of like this just slow R&B, which I can only take so much at a time. Like track 7 to 11, it's all just the same stuff. That I'm like, can we pick it up at right now? That's my big gripe with this album. But it ends off solidly with Outside, which I did like. But yeah, again, Mariah Carey. She's got a good voice, but not. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan. That's all I'll say. All right. Again, another album that could fall into questionable, again, depending on your taste. Okay. We have probably the most modern album in this whole discography, in this whole haul right here. Sabrina Carpenter. This came out in 2024, and the album's called Short and Sweet. All right, so it's your modern pop album. Again, there's gonna be people who are gonna be like, I know my audience is mostly older people, and they're probably gonna scoff at this stuff. But you know what? I'm gonna admit it. I actually really like this album. This was a lot of fun. I actually had fun with this album. So yeah, there's some good kind of feel good pop stuff here. Some parts actually have some kind of 80s feel to it, like an 80s pop, which I dig, some great hooks, and I do like her voice. I think her voice is pretty nice. Um, Granted, lyrically might be a turnoff for some people because a lot of lyrics are kind of sexual. But she's kind of still young. She's a young pop star, which that's gonna be a common thing with pop stars around this age. They're gonna talk a lot about their sexuality and stuff like that. So take that for what you will. But I will say, as long as you ignore that fact, you kind of don't even pay attention to that, honestly, because the hooks are kind of distract you enough that you don't really pay attention. At least for me. Again, might be different for other people, but still, I pretty much enjoyed pretty much a good chunk of the album here. There's only maybe two songs I thought weren't as strong, but probably my favorite ones were Taste, Please, 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 which kind of has a little bit of a country twang to it, a little bit. Good Graces, good fun, catchy song. Um, Bed Chem, I should say, Bed Chem. That might be my favorite song, honestly. That one was one of my favorites. Espresso was a big hit. I like that one too. Juno, that's another one. That's another song I really enjoyed. Um, but yeah, I'm surprised. I was surprised how much I really dug this album. Again, some people aren't into this stuff, which I get, I understand. But for me, again, this is the type of modern pop music I will listen to. So yeah, goes at least for me. It shows that there's still good modern music being put out. All right, moving on. Now we move on to something completely different. We went from pop. Now we're going to country. Oh, hold on. I actually accidentally played something. Hopefully I didn't pick up, but we have country next. We have Luke Combs, folks. Yeah, Luke Combs. This is called Getting Old. Kind of two reasons. I'm not sure how many reasons actually, but I know the main reason. I mainly got this because of my brother. And this album in particular has his cover of Fast Car by Tracy Chapman, which became a big hit for him apparently. And I know Luke and Tracy sung this song at the Grammys, which is that was kind of nice to see. And my older brother actually likes the Luke Combs version of Fast Car, so that's kind of one of the reasons. That's pretty much the big reason why I got it. But Luke Combs seems like a good kind of country I might dig. And for the most part, yeah, I was kind of right. There was actually quite a bit of songs I did like here. I do like his voice. It's a good rawness to it. Growing Up and Getting Old was a good opening song. Hannah Ford Road, pretty good. Back 40 Back. You Found Yours. See Me Now, Joe, Where the Wild Things Are. Take You With Me. 5-Leaf Clover. So yeah, majority of the songs here are pretty solid. There's 18 songs, by the way, and how many songs did I mention there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 of the songs I really dug a lot. And then the remaining 8 were the songs where I'm like, they do fall back in those country tropes that I'm kind of not into, kind of boring. Like pretty much if the song talks about drinking beer at a bar, that's a big turn for me. You mean you can sing about drinking, but if you're that explicit about it, I'm like, this is getting boring now. So yeah, there's that. So it still has those country tropes that I'm not into, but the majority of the songs here were very solid. Were pretty good. So yeah, I might check out more Luke Combs. That was a weird blip there. Hopefully, I'm still good. My internet's is going to be a little funky, I guess. So this might affect the viewing experience. So I'm going to keep going, but hopefully my whole internet doesn't crash on me, which, given my luck, might happen. So be on the lookout. Okay, we have a couple comments here. Okay, check out the Bros Osborne Pawn Shop for an excellent modern country album. All right. Yeah, Bros Osborne. That's an interesting name, but yeah, I'll keep that in mind. And then we have I've seen them several times in concert. They definitely are influenced by Southern rock. All right, cool. Yeah, I do dig some Southern rock. All right, we're getting to the point now that, yeah, I can't really stand them up, so I have to hold them now. But now we're moving on to a bit of funk. A little. I'd say it's mainly funk. We have the Commodores with Commodores. That's the name of the album. So they came out in 1977. Of course, this is where Lionel Richie got his start. And so yeah, of course, this had the big hit "Brick House." Brick house, that whole thing. Um, I do like I like a good funk, bit of funk every now and then, and this is no exception. Again, another album where pretty much the majority of the tracks were very good. It's only 9 songs, so it's not that long, but still very fun. Good grooves, good up tempo, fun songs, and the vocals are very fun as well. Um, yeah, I don't have much else to say really, but you know, it's fun. It's just if you like good funk, Commodores will have you covered. All right. So I talked about we're going from funk. Well, okay, before that we talked about country, then we talked about funk, and now we're moving back into country. We have Dixie Chicks with Fly, which of course nowadays they're just called the Chicks, or yeah, the Chicks, I think. That if I had a nickel for any kind of country pop band that had to change their name because their name has like connection to like the Confederacy or slavery type of terms, I have 2 nickels now. I'm looking at you, Lady A. But yeah, Dixie Chicks is another example of that. So yeah, I've heard of the Dixie Chicks. They were pretty big in the '90s, I think. And another album came out in 1999. I am getting a lot of albums from my birth year. How about that? Okay, so yeah. So I found this at a Salvation Army. I was like, screw it. Let's just give this a try. Because, female, mostly pretty much a female led group, which, I dig sort of that sort of thing. And yeah, same as before, same as Luke Combs. Like, I think a good chunk of the songs I really liked. Ready to Run, If I Fall, You're Going Down with Me, Cowboy Take Me Away, Cold Day in July, Hello Mr. Heartache, Without You, Heartbeat City, and then kind of a side note, track 13 is literally blank. I have no idea why that's a thing, but track 13 is blank. It's literally 7 seconds of silence. I have no idea why that's the case. But track 14 is Let Me Fly is a good closing track. And even the back cover doesn't hide it. Like if you look closely, it skips 13 and goes right to 14. Kind of a weird thing there. But yeah. Anyway, back to the album. Yeah, solid stuff. Again, it does do those country tropes. Again, like I mentioned, I'm not into, but the songs that really stood out were very good. And they do have all 3 of them. I think it's just 3. They all 3 have good voices. I think they sound really nice together. But yeah, Dixie Chicks, Fly. Okay, moving on. Now we're going into something a bit heavier now. Right, this came out in 2003, actually. All right, next up, Evanescence with Fallen. This is their debut album. Of course, another band I knew quite a bit growing up. My older brothers actually like some of their stuff. Of course, this had some big songs like Bring Me to Life. And of course, you have the other big hit, which is My Immortal. Both great songs. But yeah, you have Amy Lee. Yeah, Amy Lee on vocals, great vocalist. And again, a lot of the songs are kind of in that alternative, kind of new metal sort of vein, which which I like some of it from time to time. Some good riffs here, and some good memorable songs here. Yeah, it's definitely good to get some Evanescence. Yeah, they're kind of like this is pretty much an album I've been meaning to get for a long time, but didn't really do that until now. So glad to get that fixed. All right. I don't know I don't even know if we're halfway, actually, honestly. But regardless, we're 50 minutes in here. So, of course, hopefully you're enjoying this so far. All right. So a lot of variety in this hall. But anyway, moving on. Here's an interesting one. We have Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. This is their debut album, I believe. Okay, so they were pretty big in the 80s, mainly in England, but yeah, they were a pretty big, notable band at that time. Of course, they're known for the big hit "Relax." Relax, don't do it when you want to get through it. I don't know if that was the lyric, but that was a big hit. Of course, we all know what that song's about. Anyhow, but yeah, I definitely was curious. I saw this at a record store. I'm like, yeah, this is this, and also I believe this is also in that book of 1001 albums to listen to before you die. So this was part of it. So I'm like, yeah, might as well give it a try. And yeah, I listened to it. Not bad. I don't think it's amazing because there's a lot of songs in here that were kind of like okay. There were some songs that kind of dragged a bit too long, like songs like Two Tribes, which was 9 minutes. Then you have War, which is 6 minutes. So songs like that were kind of like pushing it. But there are some songs I did enjoy, like the title track, even though that song's like 13 minutes. I actually didn't mind the length, actually. I actually really, really dug that one. I already mentioned Relax. That's still a good one. Happy High, Wish, Black Night, White Light, and then Power of Love. So those were all the standout songs. The rest, again, were kind of okay, but wasn't really my thing overall. But still, bless me, sorry, something flew in my nose, I guess. But anyhow, still very, very. It's a pretty decent album. Again, I don't love this one though, but it was pretty big album, so might as well. All right, this next one I did unbox on camera before. All right, we have Free with Fire and Water. Yeah, okay. So Paul Rogers, of course, before forming Bad Company. And yeah, good bluesy, kind of hard rock at its finest. Came out in 1970. Great vocals, of course. I mean, with Paul Rogers, you can't go wrong. And the music itself, very good. Of course, you have the title track, Oh, I Wept, Remember, Mr. Big, and of course, you had the big hit, All Right Now. Great rock anthem there. So yeah, definitely had to get some of Free in there. Okay, next. Now here's one I was kind of surprised to find at a record store. So we have a solo album, and we have Ace Frehley. Ace Frehley, of course, this was part of a kind of like a promotional thing where all four members released a solo album, and they all came out at the exact same day. And yeah, so I got one of them. We have Ace Frehley, which to most people, based on what I've heard from most Kiss fans, this is often regarded as the absolute best of the four. And to some people, it was no contest. This was the best one. Granted, I have not heard the other remaining three solo albums, but who knows? Maybe one day we'll find all four, the remaining three. But yeah, Ace Frehley. So Ace Frehley, what people liked most about the album was that it kind of fell more in line to what people would expect. It has a sort of hard rock sound, while all the other members kind of went in different directions to an extent. But Ace kind of stayed true to the hard rock, and I think it paid off really well because, yeah, I really dug it. And surprisingly, I thought Ace's vocals were decent. Right? I mean, they're not amazing. I'm not going to say they're the best vocals I've heard in my life, but it suits the songs. Again, every song here I pretty much dug. I think the only song was Fractured Mirrors, which was an instrumental, which, again, you know how I feel about instrumentals. I'm sure there's people that love that instrumental. For me, I could give or take. But I will admit the playing's good. But the other songs here were very nice. I'd say if we were to exclude Fractured Mirror, I'd say the only song I'm not that into was I still like it, but New York Groove, I thought that was kind of the weakest, and I believe that was the single. I'm like, was that a single? But still, I think overall, still a very good album here. Very impressed with this one. All right. Next up, still got a lot to get through. We're not even done with technically the second stack. We have one more stack after this, and that's also pretty big. All right. Let's see. Let me just find the album. Here it is. Okay, now we have another album that I really dug a lot. Another song where I enjoyed every song. We have Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. Kind of a shame that the cover was, they had to truncate the cover and they did this whole Motown compact classic thing around it. I kind of would have preferred just the album cover, but that being said, I will say the album cover to the album is not that great. I mean, it's got a blurry picture of Marvin, and the text is kind of terrible, honestly. But yeah, we got some R&B, of course. Of course, you have the big song, the title track. Wow, 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 wow. That whole thing, get you in the mood. um, but yeah, this is a good album. Really good. Every song here, really enjoyed. I don't have much else to say, but if you like Marvin Gaye, you know what to expect here. It's funny. I should really mention. I'm gonna mention this. I got rant a bit. I once watched somebody. I'm not gonna say who. I watched a reaction video of a couple, husband and wife, reacting to "Let's Get It On." And I remember when the song was over, the husband was like, "Oh my god, this is the most corny shit he had ever heard," and yet would go on to praise R. Kelly. You are not gonna praise R. Kelly on my and say Art Marvin Gaye is crap, man. That's something that I can't let slide. I can't let that slide. Yeah, yeah. If I need to get in the mood, 10 times out of 10, I'm playing Marvin Gaye. Fuck R. Kelly. Anyhow, still, rant aside, great album. All right. Let's see, we got a comment from Mickey, of course. I don't like it when they shrink the original album cover like that Paul McCartney, like what Paul McCartney did. That was several of his releases. Very annoying. Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame they do that stuff like that. All right. Next up. Now we have the Go-Go's. This is their second album with Vacation. Of course, it had the big title track, Vacation, Vacation, all I ever wanted. That's a great song. I always like that song. I heard that song in Rugrats. That dates me a bit. Given my age. Anyhow. Yeah. So again, I have their debut album. I have Beauty and the Beast, and that's a great debut album. Really fun, kind of pop rock sort of sound. This album, still solid. Not quite as strong though. I mean, there's still some good songs. Like I already mentioned, Vacation. I also liked He's So Strange. Girl of 100 Lists, I thought was really good. It's Everything But Party Time, This Old Feeling, The Way You Dance, Worlds Away. Overall, nice. There are some good songs here, but there's some songs here that weren't quite as memorable as the stuff on the debut. They kind of, and I think even the band has admitted that they weren't really putting their 100% on this one. By this point they were pretty much drugged up and partying way too much around this time. So that kind of affected the music. But good to have it, and fun cover, I would say. All right, next up. Now here we have a pretty obscure album. This is something I'm pretty sure not many people are going to know. And if you do know this album, big props to you. Hold on a sec. Excuse me. So the band is called Gravy Train. Yeah, Gravy Train. and this is their fourth album and final album, Staircase to the Day. Now you're probably looking at this cover, and for some of you, you're looking at this like, huh, is that a Roger Dean cover? Well, I'm happy to say that you are correct. This is an album cover done by Roger Dean. Of course, Roger Dean probably most famously worked with Yes with their album covers, stuff like, Relayer and Fragile. But of course, he's worked with other bands like Uriah Heep from time to time, and some Gentle Giant too. But this is one for this kind of like a progressive rock slash mainly progressive rock, maybe a bit of blues, maybe a bit of hard rock too. Kind of hard to describe the genre, honestly. So the album cover, awesome looking. Does the music live up to it? Sort of. Yeah, I think musically it's okay. There's some good moments. Like there's 8 songs, and I think I liked half of them. Star Bright Starlight, Bring My Life On Back to Me, the title track, and The Last Day. Those are solid songs. The rest, again, it's fine, but just nothing really stand out too much. But the album cover is still awesome, though. That's pretty much the only reason why I bought this, was because I saw the cover. I'm like, that has to be Roger Dean. And when I confirmed that, I was like, yep, I'm getting this. I don't even care. But yeah, there we go. Gravy Train. I know they have 3 other albums. If people out there who are familiar with Gravy Train, let me know if the other albums are worth exploring. Okay. All right, we have one more to talk about in this stack before we have to move to stack 2. Okay, we've been at this for an hour. Can you imagine if I'd done this as a regular video? I mean, I think that would still be pretty long. Okay, I saw the Go-Go's on that tour. That dates me a lot. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. When did the Go-Go's, when that album come out? In 1982, Vacation came out. All right. Anyway, moving on. Now we have a live album. Yeah, I bought a live album. That's a shock. And again, this was also in that 101 albums to listen to before you die. We have Hawkwind, Space Ritual, came out in 1973, and from what I've heard, this is basically the album that kind of gave him a good boost in popularity for a time. Of course, Hawkwind, notable for being a notable space rock act, psychedelic act, maybe a bit of acid rock too, but so yeah, it's very, very out there type of music, both figuratively and literally. Double CD here. Of course, this is when Lemmy from Motorhead was still in the band, so pretty cool there. I probably gotta be careful with me showing this cover, because even now I'm like, there's a bare-chested woman here. So hopefully that doesn't, nothing bad happens to that. But yeah, pretty fun. Yeah, I dug this one. Again, another one I dug quite a bit. Again, this is probably one I need to listen to more, because it's a lot. Because again, it's 2 CDs, this thing is, so it's almost 2 hours worth of music. So this is one you really got to pay attention. And yeah, this one I probably need to give it more time. But as of now, I like it. I like it quite a bit. All right, and that concludes the stack 2, I guess. We have one more stack to get through. We still have a lot to talk about. All right, let me go ahead and bring it down. Give me a chance to rest my voice for a bit. There we go. That's the next stack. Okay. Hold on. Let me get a quick drink here. And then there for now. All right. So now we have 2 more albums from the same band. It's been a while since I've gotten albums from this genre, but we have some black metal here. Yeah, it's been a while since I talked about some black metal, huh? So both of these are from the band called Inquisition. So I have their first album right here. Okay, this album is called Into the Infernal Regions of the Ancient Cult. So you probably think, oh, that's kind of a nice cover, kind of cool, has a different vibe. Well, this is not the actual cover because this is actually meant to censor the actual cover. I will show it. So, uh, I guess jump scare warning. I guess so. If you're not into creepy imagery, look away. So, open it up. There it is. That was the initial cover. Gotta love black metal artwork. So Inquisition are kind of are an American black metal band. When you think of black metal, normally it's Norwegian black metal, but this was an American band. But that's it. I think they met. I think they actually formed in like Central America or something like that. But they were Americans, so close enough. All right. So, in terms of black metal, yeah. I mean, again, black metal is not for everyone, but for me, who does have a tolerance for black metal, yeah, good stuff here. Got that black metal edge, but you also have that. You also have a bit of thrash elements to it, which I like a lot. I think my favorite type of black metal is when they do blend other genres, where it's not just full on black metal. Like if they incorporate thrash elements, that's more up my alley. Even some symphonic elements I also dig a lot. So good debut album. Really enjoyed that one. And I also, like I said, I have another album of theirs, and this one's a bit of a later one. The debut came out in 1998. This next one I'm going to show came out in 2010. And oh boy, this is going to be this is a long title. What's up with black metal albums with having long ass titles? So this is called Ominous Doctrines of the Perpetual Mystical. Hopefully I said it right. Macrocosm. Okay, let me try to say that whole thing again. Ominous Doctrines of the Perpetual Mystic Macrocosms. Oh, whatever. But yeah, that's a mouthful. And kind of like the first one I showed, this is just meant to cover up the actual album cover. I'll show you, but beware. Again, well, actually, this one's not that bad. Still creepy looking, but yeah, that's what you get. Anyway, so again, still a very solid album. Not as good as the debut. I think I still prefer the debut personally, but then again, maybe I need to give this another chance. But again, it has the same feel, same black and thrash elements here. The vocals I should mention, it's not like your typical black metal vocals where it's like a very high pitched shriek. Here's more like a croak, which might be even more of a turn off for some people. But I actually kind of dug it. I thought it fit well. Again, not for everybody, but for me, I kind of dug it. So that's Inquisition so far. Pretty impressed musically. Just be careful when you look up who, especially for one of them, because it's mainly two people. But if you look up Inquisition, beware, you might find some very dark secrets in that band. So viewer discretion. Moving on. Okay, so Nick's back. I wasn't expecting you to still be on. Lol. Mets game is over. Mets lost the second game. All right. But I can't complain because they clinched a wild card spot. All right. That's good. Glad to know. Yeah, Nick. We're getting there. This is the final stack I'm talking about. And funny enough, you came just in time because we're on the Kinks now. So this album, let me pull it up real quick. Where is it? Here it is. So this is called Word of Mouth. Came out in 1984. All right, so slowly building that Kings collection. I think the last one I bought was This Is Give the People What They Want. That was the last one I bought. Excuse me. And yeah, saw this at the record store. Yeah, might as well get it because I know Nick and Jason have said this is a pretty solid album, and yeah, it is a solid album. Pretty much enjoyed most of the songs here. Songs that stood out to me the most were "Do It Again," "Word of Mouth," "Good Day." Then you have "Living on a Thin Line," which is probably my favorite song. Then you have "Sold Me Out," "Guilty," "Summer's Gone," and "Going Solo." So yeah, very solid kind of 80s album for the Kinks. I'm very impressed. All right, keep it going here. All right, I talked about Ace Frehley a little bit ago. Speaking of Ace Frehley, we got more Kiss. So this is Dress to Kill. I believe this is their third studio album. Came out in 1975. This was just before they were going about to hit big, because after this album they would release their live album Kiss Alive, and that was the album that boosted them into popularity. Of course, this album's notable because it has the studio version of Rock and Roll All Night. Then you have She as well and Rock Bottom, which were also staples at that time. Other songs that stood out were Getaway, Two Timer, and Room Service. All right, so yeah, again, a solid album here. Again, still nice to get some more Kiss. I think I'm still digging them. I think they're a pretty fun band. I know they have their haters, but you know, line up. Moving on. Okay, let's see. Next up, another live album. What is happening to me right now? But we have Waiting for Columbus by the band Little Feat. Not Little Feet, Little Feet, as in Feat, not Feet. Don't get that mixed up. Okay, so yeah, Little Feet are a band I have heard of, but I had no idea what kind of music they played, and decided to get this one because I looked up that this is pretty notable album for them. When people think Little Feat, they usually think of this album. Yeah, I dig it. Once again, this is one I gotta give more time to because it's a long. This is a deluxe edition, by the way, so there's a lot more tracks here. So, but what I recall, musically it seems pretty good. It's kind of like a good chill sort of album. Nothing like overly in your face, but it's just good music to kind of lean back, just kind of chill, just enjoy the vibe. You have some good upbeat songs, but some good feel good songs. So on that front, it's pretty solid. I quite liked it. But again, I just need to give it more time. But yeah, and also the album cover is kind of interesting too. You have this like anthropomorphic tomato, I guess. Kind of weird, but yeah. No, well. All right. Word of Mouth is a great album. Do It Again is amazing. Yeah, it's a good song. And speaking of this, Nick, since you're here, I know just earlier today you asked me if I heard that Love album. Yeah, Changes, I think that's the name of the album. I actually picked up their debut as well. So this is their debut album. When did this come out again? Let me look at that. Let me see. Where is it? I have it here somewhere. There it is. Yeah, so 1966. All right, so again, I bought Forever Changes. I thought that was a really, really good album. So I found their debut, and I thought might as well give this one a go. And yeah, another pretty good album. Pretty solid. My Little Red Book, Can't Explain, A Message to Pretty, My Flash on You, Softly to No Matter What You Do, that song was good. Emotions, You'll Be Following, Gazing, Hey Joe, Mushroom Clouds, that's a title, and more. Okay, all right, so those songs stood out. So that was a good chunk of this album actually. I actually really enjoyed. Yeah, again, kind of not a little bit psychedelic, but has a still has a good commercial feel to it. Um, Again, nothing. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but for what it is, I still think it's a very, very fun album. I think it's very enjoyable. So yeah, that's Love with their debut album. Right, and all right, you accepting any guests? I mean, hey, if you want, yeah, I can. If you want to hop on, Nick, then yeah, I can do that. Hold on a sec. I mean, if you want to help me contribute, let's see. All right, while I do, yeah, let me invite, copy. Let's see if this works. So I just put the link there. So if anybody's watching who also wants to hop on, just make sure you're clothed, please. But Nick, there's the link for you if you want to hop on and join as well, and contribute if you wish. But yeah, let's see. We're gonna move on here in a sec. Let's see where. Let me pull up the next album real quick. All right, up next. Let me move a few things. All right, and there you are.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, in a tremendous mood right now.
All right, that's good. All right, because let me just hold on a second. Let me fix something real quick, but just so we can put the banners up again, hold our names up.
Oh, I didn't care about that, but thank you.
Yeah, no worries, because God, I think that tells us why you're in a good mood.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't want to like interrupt your thing. I just wanted to see the CDs you got.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, we're almost done. Like I said, this is just the remaining ones.
Yeah,
So,
that's a lot.
yeah, but yeah, I'm not sure how long. Like, how far did you get to originally
What's that?
before you like what when you? I know you had to. I know you left for a little bit. Like, which album did you leave off on?
I was I was live with you, so I saw the word of mouth, and then you showed the Love album.
Okay, yeah. All right. So yeah, because you already missed the David Bowie one, the debut one.
Oh, I mean, I saw it in your other video.
Yeah, I mean, I already talked about it to you privately, so you already knew that one.
Yeah.
Let's see, anything else that was worth mentioning? Um, I did get a country album.
What artist?
Luke Combs.
I'm sure Jacob would know them.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure he would know. And actually, that's not the only country album I'm going to talk about. That's coming later, though. And yeah, pretty sure that's pretty. I also got the Dixie Chicks as well. That was like another kind of country-esque album.
Yeah.
But yeah. So now we're kind of get you caught up here. All right, moving on. We have another live album. That's like, how many live albums have I shown this thing? Anyhow, this is MC5, Kick Out the Jams, 1969. Pretty influential album. This is kind of the album that was like a prototype what would become punk later on. And this is, again, it's a live album, but this is also their debut album. So kind of ballsy to start your career with a live album. Most
I
people don't.
agree.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. But it did fairly well. Actually got some commercially did really well. Yeah, it's very good for a live album. Very good. And recording wise for 1969, very good. Very heavy. You can definitely hear the punk influence that would later become, but I wouldn't say it's like full blown punk. It's kind of like your very heavy, sort of, it's kind of bluesy as well, but very fast paced sort of rock. But yeah, it's only 8 tracks on here, but yeah, I think I had a lot of fun with it. Again, like a lot of these live albums, their live albums are definitely ones I need to give more time to, because I definitely put more time into the studio stuff. But with live stuff, it's kind of like I'll kind of like play in the background most of the time. But there's that. But overall, that was a nice thing. I was actually pretty happy with that one. All right, moving on. Let's see.
I know the Yardbirds' first album was also a live album.
Oh, that's cool. All right. The reason why I'm looking to the side is because I'm actually on my iTunes, and that's reminding me what songs I liked on each album.
That makes sense. That's
Yeah,
what I usually do, actually.
yeah. But next up, we got Meatloaf. Bat Out of Hell 3. The Monsters.
3.
So I have the whole Bat of Hell trilogy. We have the first, the second, and now the third. All right. Of course, this one's kind of a bit controversial because, and of course, if you aren't familiar, the Bat Out of Hell trilogy. Of course, you have Meatloaf, but you also have Jim Steinman, who wrote a lot of the songs. It's kind of like an Elton John, Bernie Taupin kind of partnership. But at some point, they kind of had a dispute about something, and so there was like a lawsuit involved. I guess Meatloaf won, so it's a lot of so the album still came out, but they still credit Jim Steinman, but I think originally he wasn't credited, even though a lot of his songs were on the album. So that was kind of a messy thing. But anyway, onto the album. I think out of the three, it's definitely the weakest one. I mean, it goes without saying. That's how most third movies are. Third in the trilogy tend to be sometimes.
I mean, the Berlin
But again,
trilogy, the larger album from the Berlin trilogy.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. But there's still some good songs here and some pretty highlights. Like the title track was pretty nice. Blind as a Bat. You have some ballads, of course, and some duets. It's all coming back to me now as a good duet. Bad for Good. That's probably the biggest standout song for me because you have a special guest on there. And on guitar, we got Brian May once again making appearance on albums. And yep, that's like the best song there because you hear it literally starts with Brian's guitar. Like you hear that melody, you know it's him. And you're like, yeah, that's my boy right there.
What's the name of it? Now I have to check it out.
The song's called Bad for Good.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Cry Over Me is another good song. If God Could Talk. Another good ballad coming up and a good duet. What About Love? And then Seize the Night. All right. And what's interesting, you have Jennifer Hudson, who of course is a pretty well-known actress, also making an appearance here, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, overall, again, definitely the weakest of the three. But there's still some nice stuff here. I think it's still okay. All right. Moving on. Next up, again, I gotta pull up the track listing or the album here. All right, we got another 60s album. We have the debut of Moby Grape.
Never heard
I
of that.
know.
Moby Grape.
Yeah, pretty dumb name, but whatever. It was the 60s. All right, so Moby Grape, we're kind of like one of those big guy in that San Francisco kind of jam bands at that time. I mean, I know Pop Goes to 60s has a mini series on them. I think I watched it. I think I watched it. But so I that's kind of reason why I got it is because I've heard the name of the name of the band, so I'm like, why not? And I thought it was okay. I didn't really love it. I'd say for the most part, I thought that most of the songs were kind of, I wouldn't say boring, but didn't really interest me too much. I think there's 13 tracks here. I think only 4 songs stood out to me. Those being Hey Grandma, Omaha, Naked, If I Want to, and Changes. So yeah, it was okay, but again, not really the stuff I go to, honestly. But I will say, I know the album cover got some controversy because, for one thing, if you look closely, that guy down there has the middle finger out.
Oh yeah, I see.
Yeah, and the red flag was supposed to be the American flag, but because has the middle finger, they thought it would be sending a bad message, so they made it red.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's actually multiple versions of the cover. There's actually one where they made the red flag black, but they were able to Photoshop the middle finger. I'm like, if you could Photoshop the middle finger, couldn't you just make the flag American again?
Exactly. That makes no sense.
Yeah, but yeah. All right, so that's Moby Grape. I'm not sure if I'll check more of them out, unless I'm wrong. Unless there is an album that's I might like. All right, here's kind of going back to progressive rock now. Again, this is a kind of progressive rock band which, if you're into progressive rock, you're gonna know this band, but if you're not, then it's gonna be kind of, they're like a B tier type of prog band. Like you have of course, the S tiers. You have Yes, Genesis, ELP, that sort of thing, King Crimson. This is a band kind of below those. We have Nectar, and this is called Journey to the Center of the Eye. All right, so this is their first album. Let me see. I'm trying to find it. Where is it?
I've heard of the album before, but I've never had the interest of checking it out because I like prog, but I'm not like a diehard prog guy.
Yeah, makes sense. So this came out in 1971. So I read that this is a concept album. Of course, that was a while ago, so I forgot what the story was. But from what I remember, musically, I liked it, but it's an album where you really can't really you can't really listen to the songs by themselves. You have to listen to the whole thing in full. So because of that, there's like not really many standalones here. But I think musically it's very nice. I'd say because I have another Nectar album. I have Remember the Future or Remembering the Future, I think, and I think that's a way better album. But this is still solid. I think there's some good promise showing here. But yeah, Nectar is definitely a band I want to check more out because I do dig their sound. Quite different than the usual. But yeah, again, this was probably another album I just need to give more time to. But yeah, there's that Nectar. All right, here comes that other country album I was talking about a bit ago. It's a pretty notable one, actually. You have Stardust by Willie Nelson.
I've heard that album before. Pretty solid
Yeah.
album, I say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I had nothing against Willie. I thought I might as well start checking his stuff out. And yeah, I dug it.
I doubt you'll end up having all of his albums.
Probably not in a while.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever do a series on him unless Jacob convinces me to.
Yeah. But this is often cited as one of his big standout albums. Like if you're gonna check out Willie Nelson album, this is definitely one to check out. And yeah, like I said, I liked it. There's some nice songs here. Of course, you have his rendition of Georgia on My Mind, which I thought was actually pretty nice. Blue Skies was another good one. All of Me. Then you have September Song, Don't Get Around Much Anymore. And then Someone to Watch Over Me. So a good chunk of the album I really dig. I mean, a lot of this are covers. Like some of the covers I'm not that into. Like he does a version of Unchained Melody, which I'm like, I mean, it's fine, but it just doesn't really stand out.
Besides Elvis's version, I feel that way about almost every Unchained Melody, in my opinion.
Yeah, just can't beat the Righteous Brothers. Anyway, but yeah, overall, it's pretty nice album. It's definitely a nice vibe, and yeah, I think the album cover. I think if the music kind of sums up the album cover too. I don't know why. It just has a very tranquil feel. Granted, the back cover doesn't really fit the theme. Kind of a weird.
Looks like he's about to go to a circus.
Yeah, he's
Or
probably
he'd have to be like shot out of a cannon.
maybe he's probably smoking weed before taking the shot anyway. So that might be it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so now we're moving on. We're going from country to some kind of new wave sort of music here. We have New Order with their album Low Life. Of course, I talk about Joy Division from time to time. And, when Joy Division kind of broke up, the remaining members formed New Order, which is a more kind of new wave, kind of sort of dance oriented type of stuff, like very, very synth heavy. So I've been meaning to check out more of New Order, but I've come to realize I can only take that sort of very synth heavy upbeat sound for so long. And that's kind of why I always prefer Joy Division, solely because it has that um, more darker vibe to it, which I like more. Um, but yeah, well, definitely was curious to try this out. It's a again has like those things I know from New Order. Probably the best song on here is "The Perfect Kiss." I think that's a pretty memorable track. But then you have love vigilantes, this time of night, subculture, face up is another kind of a nice song. So again, half pretty much little over half the album I really dig. The other half is kind of like doesn't really stand out to me. But again, there's still some good moments here. So I'm not sure if I'll be a big New Order fan, but from time to time I'll listen to them. All right. Up next, we have two more. We have two more from the same artist. Pretty well known artist. We got Randy Newman. Picked up his debut album. Okay, I forgot what album this was, but it's called Sail Away. Now, even if you aren't familiar with Randy Newman, of course you probably already know at least one song from him.
You got a friend in me.
There you go. Yep. So yeah, just kind of curious to check out his solo stuff. Of course, his debut came out in '68, and Sail Away was, I believe, '72. Um, and yeah, I kind of dug them. They're kind of more orchestral pop. There's like it's him and piano, and there's like an orchestra kind of behind him, which I kind of liked. Some of the stuff was very very beautiful. In terms of the debut, very solid debut. Of course, it's just he's just starting out, so obviously still kind of finding his unique voice. Well, granted, he kind of already does have a unique voice when you think about it. But songs like "Love Story," "Bet No One Ever Hurt This Bad," "Living Without You," "Laughing Man," "Cowboy," I think is going to rain today. Pretty solid tracks. So that was pretty good. I think let's Sail Away though. I think that's definitely this one I really dug. I think this one kind of gels a lot more. Of course, you have the title track, which is this beautiful, gorgeous kind of piano ballad type of song. Kind of has a sad sound to it. I'm not going to go into the actual lyrics to it, but it's definitely kind of impactful in a sense when you find the true meaning of it. But it's kind of a tragic story though. Lonely at the top, he gives us all his love. Last night I had a dream. Old man, political science, memo to my son. Then you have Drayton, Ohio, and then God's Song. Yeah, it's a pretty good album. I was very impressed with this one because I came with I honestly I came into this with very low expectations because, of course, I mean I felt like Randy Newman has the voice where I can only take in small doses, but surprisingly on this particular album he was able to carry me throughout the whole album. So yeah, very nice surprise. So yeah, it's Randy Newman. Okay.
That's cool. I should check him out more, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. The only other song I know from him was "Short People."
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's such a messed up song too.
I know. Which I mean, it's supposed to be a parody on racism, but still, it's like, geez, thank God I'm tall.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so next up, all right, we have another debut album here, and I know Nick, you're familiar with this one because you and Jason and Jacob reviewed this one recently.
Elvis.
Elvis. Oh, there he goes.
I find it's a good album, but it's not an album that I'm like, whoa, this is like amazing. I know Jacob gave it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same boat. I like this album, but yeah, it's kind of like, there's a lot of covers on here, and those covers are fine, But again, it's recorded in 58, 56 actually, and so it definitely sounds like it. Like it's not really
Plus,
as that polished.
lots of slow songs as well.
Yeah, a lot of slower songs, which again I don't mind the slow songs, but yeah. I mean, of course you have Blue Suede Shoes, which is obviously the big hit, big song here. I'm coming. Other songs I liked were I'm coming. I'm counting on you. Um, trying to get to you. I'm gonna sit right down and cry, and that's pretty much it. Again, everything else was okay, but again, what's funny about this CD I have, it's like done really weirdly, where of course this is like a kind of like a deluxe edition where it has like bonus songs, but normally the bonus songs are at the end of the CD. Here they kind of tried to incorporate it into the album. Like, like the original album starts with Blue Suede Shoes. This album starts with Heartbreak Hotel.
Huh.
So kind of a weird way, because this came out what? This CD came out in 1999. Year I was born. But definitely it's interesting. But I mean, and even the album cover is a bit off, because I noticed, because I think in the original cover there's not that much empty space there. I think it's more filled. So kind of a weird. This is a weird issue, but
It is very, very, very odd.
yeah,
I'll pull up the picture right now.
yeah. There it is. Yeah, so it's yes, like Elvis is kind of more in frame.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
you could see him more, but on Briar CD, it's like show the reference. It's like just so much empty space. So
yeah,
such a weird comparison.
I
It's
know.
like why? Why did they do that?
It's weird, but I mean, I have the debut, and it does have all the songs in there, so it's not like, oh, it's a whole loss.
I don't know. You can't have the debut without Blue Suede Shoes opening the album.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, we have Linda Ronstadt. This is her, I forget, I think third studio album, self-titled. I gotta say, the album cover is kind of creepy if you look at it long enough.
Yeah, if you look at it long enough, it'll eat your soul.
I know. Okay, so again, Linda Ronstadt has definitely, you hear her name from time to time, and always been meaning to check her out, because I feel like it's stuff that I would like. And you know what? Yeah, I really like this stuff. It's kind of, I don't know what genre she's mainly into. I think it's kind of like a kind of folky, kind of country, kind of soft rock at times. Can't really pinpoint the exact genre for her, but I mean, her voice really is really nice, and a lot of the song and pretty much all the songs here, only 10 tracks, but I pretty much enjoyed everything. Um, so again, I didn't have much else to say about it, but it's just a very pleasant, very good, kind of more chill album to listen to, and really her voice carries the whole album for me. And yeah, it's just very enjoyable. So yeah, 1972 this came out. Yeah, very nice. I'm definitely need to check out more from her. Okay. All right. Well, we're getting there. At least we're getting to the point where I can fit them in one hand now.
That's good.
All right. Okay, next up, Todd Rundgren. This is A Wizard, a True Star. Again, Todd Rundgren, again, a name you might hear from time to time. It's actually a pretty big name in the 70s. It actually has a very wild career. I mean, he's written, he's produced, he has his own solo career. He's pretty much everywhere. And sometimes, and you don't even realize it sometimes. But yeah, this is like I can't remember what album this was, but this came out in 1973. It's a long album. I think this was a double album originally, and this is when he discovered drugs for the first time, I think. And yeah,
Yeah, the album cover shows it.
yeah, there's a lot of songs that are definitely very out there, because I think before he kind of was more like your kind of like a typical like pop sort of top pop sort of singer that at that time. But when he got on those drugs, man, that opened up a whole can of worms. And yeah, I mean, there's still some more popish sort of moments on here, which are, there's some good melodies on here, some great playing too. Um, but yeah, it's definitely one you have to kind of prep for because again, it's a double album, so there's a lot of songs to get through, and not all the songs work. Like you have some very strange titles. Like there's a song called I'm gonna say it, but I shouldn't be taking off. I should be okay. But there's one song called "Rock and Roll Pussy." I didn't care for that song.
That's a title.
Yeah. Then you have another song called "Just Another Onion Head Da Da Dali." That song I did like.
That's also a title.
And then another song is "When the Shit Hits the Fan," Sunset Boulevard.
It's another title.
Yep.
What's another title? Slap the mama into oblivion in the shitter.
Maybe. I know. So yeah, it gets weird. But I think there's still some interesting stuff here. Not my favorite one I've heard from Todd so far, but it's fascinating. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, Jacob just released Jake Sings on Unchained Melody. Speaking of that.
Oh wow. What a coincidence there. All right. Okay, so now we're moving on. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. I mean, it's one of the albums in the thumbnail, kind of in the center of the thumbnail.
The Shags.
Yep, this is definitely in the questionable category. Because the title, because you've seen the title already, because it says rock, pop, and questionable. This is definitely questionable.
Oh, you want something to question about that drumming on that album? They're like on a different. They're like in a different universe.
Oh yeah, no drummer can replicate that.
No, like she has her own time signature.
I know. I mean, yeah, I got it for the sole reason of saying I own it. Yeah, I'm not gonna go too in depth on the history of this album because I mean you can kind of look it up, but to put it briefly, basically, husband and wife, they had children. The wife dies, but before she dies, she tells her husband that their daughters are gonna be in this famous band. So the dad just takes their daughters out of school, make them play music, even though they had literally no talent to begin with. And surprisingly, they were able to get an album out, and of course, it was panned when it first came out because it's very amateurish. Production's also very shoddy, and yeah, and lyrically, it's very bizarre too. But it's shocking, regardless of what happened, that mother was kind of right. They would kind of be in a famous band because this album is pretty notorious these days, and would also help this album get more recognition is that you have some kind of big names actually praise the album. I think the most notable two are Frank Zappa and Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
I mean Frank Zappa. That makes total sense. Yeah, of course you would like something like this.
Like Kurt Cobain, though, it's like, my pal Footfoot. I don't think I would have joined music if it wasn't for that song. And
Yeah, no.
how can you forget the song called the Halloween?
Yep,
That's real music.
I know. So yeah, it's an album, and I own it, and it's an album cover too. Very cheesy cover.
Yeah. All I gotta tell you is that when we do the albums of 1969, that's most certainly gonna be the weakest album of that year.
Most likely. But yeah, there's the Shags. Okay. So let's see. Is there any more questionable stuff? Maybe. And some people maybe. All right. Okay. Some of these ones Some of these ones I'm gonna go by kind of quick because again, some of these I don't have a lot to say. Next up we have Donna Summer. She works hard for the money. 1983 this came out. Yeah, I like some Donnie Summer. She has some. I always like some of her songs. She worked hard for the money is a song I know quite a bit. That was the big song here. And everything, and the rest of the album's pretty good. I mean, it's your typical kind of post disco dance pop sort of sound. So again, not a whole lot to say musically because it's just meant to dance to and just go out. So again, but her voice is good. Her voice always stayed pretty good. So again, other songs that stood out: "Stop, Look, and Listen," "He's a Rebel," "Love Has a Mind of Its Own," and "Tokyo." So yeah, solid album. Not amazing.
Yeah, to me, she has like two really good songs, and I tried listening to a couple of her albums. I listened to the album where it has "Hot Stuff" on it, which that's like to me her best song. Actually, I'd say "She Works Hard for Her Money" is her best song, and yeah, I kind of agree with you. That I don't know. A lot of these dance albums are more just put the single out and put a bunch of filler on the album
Mm,
to just
yeah,
for the dance too.
yeah, I can see that. I get that. But yeah. All right. Okay, next one. This is one I know you know I have this album. I mean, I most people know it because I unboxed this album on video before. Of course, you have "Sweet," "Desolation Boulevard." Um, really great rock album. Again, pretty much enjoyed everything on here. Of course, this, like I said, I mentioned this in the video, but this is the U.S. Capitol rendition of the album. Of course, there's a UK version with a different track listing. Um, not sure which one's better, but
UK version sucks
yeah.
because it has like a version of My Generation on there, and
Hmm.
it's terrible, and it doesn't have all the big good songs on there. I mean, I like
Yeah.
the deep on that album, but yeah, I could really care less about the UK version. You
Hmm.
got the best version, in my opinion. Maybe some person over in the UK is like, "You're wrong. That's how dare you say that?" But for me, you got the best version.
Yeah. I mean, of course, the U.S. version has the singles like "Ballroom Blitz." Then you have "Fox on the Run," of course. You know, Fox on the Run.
Yeah.
All right. But the other songs that I was not aware of. Yeah, again, great and very heavy too. They can get pretty heavy if they want to. Of course, you have songs like the 16s, AC/DC. I Want to Be Committed, um, Into the Night. Just again, I could keep going, but yeah, every song here was really enjoyable. So yeah, Sweets. Definitely need to check out more of them.
I really like No You Don't. That's like
Oh yeah, that's
that's
another good one.
yeah, on the UK, the way you could tell if it's the UK version or not, if it opens with the 16s, that's like the opening track to the UK version.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. These next two I'm gonna go by quick. I can spend time on these because I'm planning a series on her. And I already shared this in the group chat, so I think Nick already knows. But we got some Taylor Swift. Of course, this is the Tortured Poets Department, her latest studio album that came out this year. And I also bought Red, the Taylor version, because I am including the Taylor versions when I get to that series. So that'll be interesting. I'm not going to say my thoughts because, again, I'm saving that for the
Yeah,
series,
I could
which
yeah.
I'm not sure when that's going to happen still.
I could tell you my thoughts. I liked the Taylor's version of Red. It's a good album, but I much prefer the original version. Um, there's like this one song that she redid. It's like 11 minutes. I'm like,
Hmm.
no reason why it had to be 11 minutes long. And I gave that a 7 out of 10. As for Tortured Poets, it's an all right album. To me, her best music's like the early stuff, like 1989, Red, uh, the one that came before Red. I can't think of it right now. Fearless, I think, is called.
Speak Now.
Speak Now. I know Speak Now and Fearless. Those are also good albums. I know, of course, some Taylor Swift fans would kill me, but I don't care for the Taylor versions.
Mm. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and move on then. All right. We only have 5 left. 5 left. Okay. Next up, we have Ike and Tina Turner working together. 1970. All right. So yeah, starting to get more. I definitely got this one because we got Tina Turner on here. Of course, this is her early, kind of more early, not too early though. This is kind of a bit later in this, in her time with Ike. Um, yeah, yeah, I really dug this one. Again, it's really Tina Turner. She's really carrying this album. Um, I've always think she's a phenomenal vocalist, and yeah, she totally kills on this album. And the music itself is just still pretty good too. Of course, I like the title track. As long as I can get you when I want you is a good one. I want the way you love me. You can have it. Game of love. Then of course this album has, I know you're not a big fan, but I know this has their version of Proud Mary, which I do like that. I do like their version. I do appreciate they made it their own version. So there's that. And I will say this might be I'm not sure if this is a hot take. I'm not sure what the consensus is, but I actually do dig their version of Let It Be by the Beatles. And I'm a huge Let It Be fan. That's my favorite Beatles song.
I've never heard their version of Let It Be.
I mean, it's different. It is different. They do change the lyrics, which again, to some people that might be sacrilege to do. But I do appreciate because they kind of changed the lyrics to where it's kind of more in line, singing about the civil rights movement. Something like "People Get Ready," that sort of feel of it. Which again, to some people that might be sacrilege to change the words and the meaning of the song, but I kind of respect that. I really do like that. And again, Tina's singing it good. So I don't mind their version of Let It Be. But yeah, overall, very good album. Again, rest in peace to Tina Turner. As for Ike, yeah, burn out.
Real.
Yeah.
He was a piece of crap.
Oh yeah. All right. Okay, we're almost there. U2's up next. All That You Can't Leave Behind. All right, this is 2000, so a bit later in the discography, but of course it had their big single "Beautiful Day" on here, which I know I like that song. I like that song. The rest of the album, it's fine. Again, we're kind of getting to that part of U2's discography where I'd say the singles are decent, are pretty good, but the deep cuts are kind of fine, but they just don't really stick. But a couple songs I liked down here were "Stuck in a Moment You Can't Get Out of," and then there's a song called "Kites" and a song called "Wild Honey," which were fine songs. But again, everything else was kind of fine, just okay. Maybe I need to listen to it again. There's that, but not much else to say about that one. But "Beautiful Day," that's a great song. All right. Last 3. Okay, next up, we're going to some jazz fusion up next. Again, we have Weather Report, Night Passage. 1980, this came out, so a little bit later. And I have a few Weather Report albums in my collection already, and I've always enjoyed them. They're probably my favorite jazz fusion band so far. Just some great playing, some great horns, keyboards. It's all instrumental, but if it's all instrumental, I'm more forgiving because I'm expecting that. But yeah, pretty good album. Again, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where this would rank, honestly, because again, I haven't heard everything by Weather Report yet. But this is still pretty good. Pretty good playing, good passages, good melodies throughout. Yeah, not much else to say about it because again, it's all instrumental. But still, it's a very good album if you like jazz fusion. All right. Next, we're almost there. Down to the second to last. Okay. Paul Weller. Stanley Road. kind of supposed to be a little slight nod to Abbey Road, of course, if you hadn't guessed already, and also you have Paul there with those kind of John Lennon-esque glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of a nod to where he grew up, I believe, was also called Stanley Road. So Paul Weller started out in the band called The Jam originally, but he went on to have his own solo career. And I have another Paul Weller album. It was called Rock and the Nation, I believe. And I remember liking that one. It's been a while since I've heard that one, but that was a bit later. This one came out in '95. And it's a pretty good rock album, like a good mid '90s sort of rock album. Songs like Changing Man, I Walk on Gliding Splinters, Woodcutter's Son, Time Passes, the title track, and then pretty much the rest of the album, like track 7 to 12, I actually really dug a lot. So yeah, again, definitely open to more Paul Weller. Again, I like his style. I think he has a cool, pretty deep, pretty cool voice, and yeah, pretty good rock music for the time. So who knows? Maybe this could be another album exchange at some point, but not right now. And then we have one more. We have last one. What could it possibly be? And that is going to be Warren Zevon, Excitable Boy.
That's a great album.
Yeah.
Great album.
Yeah. So, yeah, Warren Zevon, another one of those people that's kind of like those singer-songwriters get brought up from time to time. It's almost like I always kind of compare him with Harry Nilsson. They're kind of like in the same boat to me. Maybe not musically, they're kind of different, but in terms of like that sort of male singer-songwriter, they're kind of very similar to me. So of course this came out in 1978, and I really enjoyed this album. I really enjoyed this album.
Oh.
This was a lot of fun. This was actually a pretty fun album.
I'm so glad you liked it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, every song here, only 9 songs, but I think every song here was very enjoyable. Again, kind of his songwriting is kind of more on a comedic sort of vein, I'd say. It's kind of tongue in cheek, but it works. Of course, you have Johnny Strikes Up the Band, really good opening song that kind of sets the tone. Roland, the Headless Thompson Gunner.
I love that. That's my all-time favorite Warren Zevon song.
Yeah, that's a good one too. The
Like,
title track. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, sorry to interrupt, it's kind of like a Boy Named Sue kind of.
Yeah.
That's why I like it so much.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Then we have the title track. Then you have some pretty well-known singles like Werewolves of London, which I also like that song too. Accidentally Like a Martyr. And then it just keeps going. Again, every song here is really good. There's no bad song. I don't think there was a song I did not like here. And again, Warren has a pretty fascinating voice, but again, like I said, it works with the music. And yeah, it's very enjoyable. So there we go. Excitable Boy by Warren Zevon. And thus, that is now all the CDs I bought from September.
How much did you get in total?
58.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Again, most of them I bought with my own money, but again, there's a few that were given to me from Mickey, so that also adds to the numbers. And I said this earlier, but I know Mickey has more stuff planned, so that's not the last we'll hear from him, for sure. But there we go. We actually got below 2 hours here. Actually shocked by that. I was going to go by even longer. I even said this earlier. Like, I couldn't imagine. Can you imagine if I actually made like a regular video? I feel like that'd still be probably be close to this amount of time.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of time.
Yeah. Of course, granted, I realized something because I actually came up to do the live stream pretty last minute because I actually started recording the B-roll, the stuff on the turntable, because I thought I was going to do a video, but then I was like, I'll do a live stream instead. So we pretty much have that B-roll for nothing.
It sucks.
But it is what it is. Anyway, well, that's pretty much going to conclude this CD haul. Thank you, Nick, for joining me for the last kind of third, I guess. I'm not sure how many,
Yeah.
but glad you
Second
can be here. I think last year, it was Jason who was there last year. So got a nice rotation going here.
Maybe next time you might have Scott come on.
Maybe, if he's available. Jacob, Ryan, who knows? But we'll see how it goes. So again, to the people who actually stuck around for the whole thing, the whole 2 hours, I appreciate you. And for the people who were here but had to leave, again, I appreciate you as well. And of course, for the people who are watching the replay of this, hopefully you can comment below your thoughts on any of these albums I have shown. And also thank you to the people in the chat who wish me an early happy birthday. Again, that's tomorrow. So we'll see what should be a nice day. But that's pretty much all I gotta say. Make sure you like the stream, like this video, subscribe if you're new. Make sure you subscribe to Townsend 505 if you haven't already. We're actually, as of we're recording this, I think we're still gonna do Genesis tonight.
Yes.
Yes. So make sure to tune in to Townsend 505 later tonight. Me, you, and Ryan Cam are gonna review. Which actually, man, I wish no, they're right here. We're going to be reviewing. I dropped something. Selling England by the Pound from Genesis. So make sure you look out for that. But other than that, that's going to do it. Any last words, Nick?
Thank you so much for letting me come on. Happy early birthday. Hope your birthday goes really well. Thanks for the channel shout out. Of course, let's go Mets. I'm in a great mood, and over there in San Diego, I know the Padres are in the playoffs, so hope maybe New York and San Diego meets up in the second round. Who knows?
Maybe we'll see.
Actually, be the third round, actually, but still,
okay,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll see. Granted, I'm not a sports guy, so I'm sure you'll tell me.
Yeah, I'd be like, if the Padres eliminate the Mets, I'd be like, gosh darn San Diego. As a joke, of course. I'm not.
Yeah.
I have no beef against San Diego at all.
Okay, that's good. Anyway, again, thank you for watching this, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye for now.